you've probably seen this is a 4D meeting, right? 4D conversations. So my name is Geraldo Salles Cavalcanti, and together with a group of wonderful people, we have been driving this since 2023. So it's a community where we are looking at the meta crisis. Have you come across the term meta crisis? So it's the belief that we are seeing a convergence of several crises in the world today. So just think if you go back year 2000 or even before, we have saved the corals, right? Save the forest, save whatever, but we didn't see that a lot of the things were connected to climate change. So there is a lot of thinking now that the same thing is happening in terms of several crises where climate change is one, even if an important one. So that's what we are looking at. And in terms of migration, it's a big topic if you look at the meta crisis, especially if you go into the future, force the migration, because you're going to have climate change, millions of people maybe that need to leave their countries and places, and also because of conflicts we have and inequality and so. So it's a big topic that is close to my heart also because I am 1987 January, I was new to Sweden one day. Yeah. So it's also on a personal level, right? I wish there was you, Greg, and you to Sweden back then, helping out, because I know the effort that takes to build a career and a place here. And that's the things we've been discussing now, right? I'm particularly interested because if you have migration, is of course, one issue is polarization that we are seeing more and more, right? So all these aspects, we are very concerned in the 4D community. And if you want to join, welcome. We are growing and we need more people to try to understand and what we can do about that. So this is one community, and then we probably wonder what's this place here. This is another community that Diane and also are also part of, which is the cruise trip. And it's a community of a lot of people working with social entrepreneurship and issues, and it's also a co-working space. So we have these 4D conversations in different topics, ranging from AI to you name it, every month. But the first one this year was on migration with Mayan, which opened my eyes to a lot of things. And since then, we have been working together a little bit on that, and we are here today. So Mayan, you're going to be our former executive, expert at the European Union, and also you're going to be moderating today the session. The 4D conversations is a conversation, right? So I would like to see in the chat. By the way, guys, in the chat, I hope you have the cameras on, right, Raja?
Yeah, some of them do.
Yeah, cameras on, please. It gives a lot of energy, and also use the chat for questions anytime. Okay. But Mayan is going to moderate, and there will be a lot of time for questions from both online and here. Without further ado, welcome.
Okay, well, I'm very glad to see you who came here this evening and all the people online. I hope you can hear and see us. I'm very glad we can have Greg here this evening. And I mean, integration is a very topical issue in Sweden, in all of the EU countries, I would say, and many others as well. And, you know, the first step towards integrating into a country is often getting your job. So I think that's very much what you'll tell us about, yeah. Greg. You know, we have a very high unemployment rate in Sweden right now. It's over 8%. Actually, for youth, it's over 19%. So that means 140,000 young people that are unemployed. I think there's one interesting aspect with those numbers, because I think to be a little bit optimistic still, and that is that among 19 to 24-year-olds, the young unemployed, if you compare the Swedish ones born in Sweden to those migrants that came, there was a big group that came in 2015. There were some 30,000 Afghans, that unaccompanied minors that came. Among them, the employment rate is higher than the comparable Swedish group.
Lower, right? Like they're
They're
doing
lower,
better.
sorry.
Yeah.
Yes, they're employed.
Yeah.
Thank you, Greg. So actually, I have the numbers because this is according to the Swedish Statistics Authority, SCB. So 80%, 82% of those who came, the immigrants are employed, while only 73% among those born in Sweden. So I think there is, some optimism we can have. Yeah.
And this was in the age range of 19 to 24, right?
19 to 23, 24. Yeah.
Yes.
But now I'm not gonna go on. I just want to kind of frame the discussion, get our thoughts going.
Yeah.
I'd rather hand over to you, Greg. And I mean, you started some incredible work. You started New to Sweden, but you've also started another initiative, 1046
Yeah, the
initiative.
1046 inclusion.
Yeah. So I just thought if you could tell us a little bit about yourself, first of all, and then, what motivated you to start these interesting initiatives.
So thank you all for joining us today. Thank you all for coming in person. Thank you to everybody online. I'm very confused with the cameras. I'm gonna try to figure this out. So I'll start maybe a little bit more with my personal story, and then I can talk about New to Sweden and why we started it, things like that. So I'm originally from Canada. I was born in Montreal and raised in Montreal, very happily a Montreal Canadiens fan, if anybody else is out there. Then moved to Toronto for a long time, and then met my wife while I was traveling. So I met her in China. We met in Beijing, actually, at a hostel. We spent like 2 or 3 days together, and then we hit it off. And so then we had a very long distance relationship for a few years. And then I moved to Sweden for the first time in 2009. Then we moved back to Toronto after we got married and lived there for about 4 to 5 years and had our first child, and then moved back to Sweden. So it's been a very long time. I've been here since 2014. And I should be speaking more Swedish than I do, but I don't. And then about 5 years ago, I started New to Sweden. And the reason why it started, I went to SFI, which is Swedish as a second language school. And while I was there, I remember reading like a newspaper article in Let's Svenska. And the article said that they didn't even have the unemployment rate broken down by percentages, but they just had it by pure numbers. And it was something like 50,000 Swedes are unemployed or something like that. But then when you read it on, it was like, and 340,000 foreign-born people. And I remember seeing this huge disparity. I remember thinking, okay, that's a little bit strange. And I didn't quite get it, but that sort of started this whole thinking. And then I became a job coach because I used to be a recruiter. And when I was job coaching, I realized all my clients were immigrants and things like that. And then I was invited to a seminar just before COVID started. And that seminar was organized by someone who wanted to find a solution for immigration in Sweden. And it was me. There was one other person for sure who was like foreign born, but the rest of the people in the room were not. And then they passed us like big pieces of paper with markers. And they asked us to write down what we think are the obstacles facing foreign-born people in Sweden. And me and this other person,
Interesting.
yeah. So me and this other person ended up writing this list and just kept going and going and going. We used up the whole paper, and everybody else wrote one thing and then stuck it up on the wall. And that's when I realized, okay, there's obviously a huge gap here. And so that very night, I went home, I bought the domain newtosweden.org, I bought newtosweden.st and newtosweden.com. And then that's sort of how it all started. And at first I wanted New to Sweden to be this network of organizations because I thought, okay, there's lots of different organizations working on integration in Sweden. Let's try to bring them all together rather than start something fresh. So we started a Slack channel, and I think I started reaching out to so many different organizations, and one led to another, and one led to another. We had 35 organizations joining up on the Slack channel, and like 50 people on it. But then I still found that I was the one driving all the conversation. And so by the end of the year, in November of 2020, that's when I started New to Sweden as its own organization from the get-go.
Okay, and then you also have this other initiative. Can you tell me how?
Yeah.
Because I had the great pleasure, I have to say, to go to an event that you organized at Nordiska Museet last week, which was a fantastic event with young people from gymnasia, I think, secondary schools,
students, yeah.
and also with music, orchestra of young people playing came from Södertälje. And there was also, I mean, there are many things, but summarize also a panel discussion with a very, prominent, interesting speakers. I mean, it was an incredible event at Nordiska Museet. So tell us how these interact a little bit, or how they, the relationship.
For sure. So maybe I should backtrack a little bit too, because I realized I didn't really explain what New to Sweden does. So New to Sweden as an organization, we work with internationals and help people directly by providing lots of free help and free workshops so that they can improve their CVs, their LinkedIn profiles, how to interview in Sweden, how to network in Sweden, all those types of things, provide that service for free. We also work with organizations like companies to try to give speeches and presentations and workshops on how they can be more inclusive. And then the third part is this that you were talking about, the 1046 Inclusion Initiative, where we really want to work with the Swedish community and make sure that absolutely everyone in Sweden welcomed and included. So no matter your age, your sex, your sexual orientation, your transgender identity or expression, your religion, ethnicity, any sort of disability you might have, or your neurodiversity, we want to make sure you feel welcomed and included here. So we started this project about 3 years ago, and it was a very slow build, and we managed to get then over 35 different organizations to participate, all nonprofit and social enterprise organizations including.
I think someone has.
It culminated in lots of different things. We went to a summit last year. We were at the parliament. We spoke at the parliament and had a nice session there. And then this year we started working with Nordiska Museet and decided to create together this large event that you were talking about. And it was really nice. And there was that youth orchestra that came from Södertälje to open up the whole event. We had musicians there, we had poets. I'm going to mispronounce this, but the Hortens Bästa Poeter from last year. Thank you, the translation. From last year, and they performed. It was just this really fantastic, and we had a great panel discussion with.
Yeah, it was really.
Just say I work at Nordiska Museum, and so was there backstage.
Yeah.
But I just, from the museum's perspective as well, we were so pleased to have you, and I think we are all still talking about it, that it was so cool that so many young people came as well. We're really pleased with the turnout. So
that's awesome. Okay, well, thanks. Thanks for that.
I didn't organize anything. I just thought I was there.
Oh, okay. Well, thanks so much for coming today and for being there that day, because it was really special.
Yeah, I have to say I was impressed. Yeah. So, okay, but that's very interesting. So you'd say you work with 30 different or some 30 organizations?
Yeah, right now, yes.
Can you say like, what do you do more in practice with these organizations? And, you know, if I come to, I mean, I looked at your website and I see you have, you know, online courses, you have different things, but if you can tell us a little bit more.
Yeah. So there's two different aspects here. So there's what we do with New to Sweden as the nonprofit organization. So what we do with those organizations, we have like anti-racism workshops, we have awareness sessions, we have inclusive leadership sessions that we run and lead. I do lots of talks like these as well. And so there's a whole layer of things there. And then with the 1046 inclusion initiative, those 35 organizations that we're working with, they're our partners. So they provide insights and tips. And so we post lots of inclusion tips online. We also we provide lots of data and statistics and studies, and we publish that. We created some short films. So we created 4 short films plus another, like a mini little doc sort of thing, and those have been really well received. And even through like the feedback that we received, like quantitatively, it did very well as well. And basically, we're trying to increase the representation and how people perceive people who are different in this country. And I'm sure we're going to talk about that a lot, like what the main issues are here in Sweden, and what the different solutions could be. But I'm hinting towards it. A lot of it has to do with inclusion, and a lot of it has to do with representation and how we can empathize with people who may seem different than we are.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a very important issue. So how do you, I mean, who does your trainings? I mean, it seems like a lot of us would need to take your training on, you know, all of these issues you just mentioned, but how do you get the people to come? Who do you
That's always the trick.
invite?
Yeah,
I mean, or who takes them?
Yeah, so different organizations have taken them over the course of the past few years. So we worked with Google a lot. We worked with SAP and Nordea, Vattenfall, and different companies across Sweden. Mainly companies that have international presences or international people working for it, where the main corporate language is English. And I run some of them. I do the awareness sessions, and then I have somebody who works with me, Arjen Verduren, who's been doing this for like 15 years, and he does a lot of inclusive leadership courses. So he's much more specialized than I am. I like to raise awareness and talk about different issues, like, you know, what people are actually facing, and then he's very good with teaching and training and making sure, okay, now we can take the next step. This is how you can try to make change.
Interesting, yeah. And I think you don't only work in Stockholm, you work more in other parts of Sweden. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, for sure. So we do a lot of our trainings are digital, so it's very easy to do across Sweden. And then we also recently started something called the Integration 360 program, where so New to Sweden in general tries to provide like holistic solution to immigration in Sweden. With the Integration 360 program, we recently piloted it in Umeå. So we went down to Umeå and we brought in the internationals who live there, and we trained them in person how to be able to find work in Sweden. Then we brought in a bunch of different employers, and then we trained them on how to be more inclusive. With the limited time we have, this is not a perfect solution, but with the limited time we have, we try to train them how to be a little more inclusive, and especially how to interact and mingle with people with international backgrounds. And then we had a mingle together. So those employers met with the students. And then what we found out was that it was a great experience for those students. They felt very confident afterwards, and they enjoyed the experience, and they felt heard. That was an important feedback that we heard back from that as well. And yeah. That's something.
Yeah, so I mean, you're talking about inclusion. Oh, sorry.
Not sure if you
Am I okay to ask questions now?
Yeah, sure. Or I mean, if you want to, we can take them now.
Yeah. I'm super curious because I two questions. Like, First of all, I think maybe it's me who's being too cynical here.
Yeah.
But I feel like sometimes when you, like when it comes to, inclusion, awareness about certain things, and it's specifically like organizations and big companies that need this training.
Yeah.
I feel often the companies that ask you to come there and to give them a lecture or a seminar or whatever, they're already on their way, or they might not meet the biggest, how to say, like, the biggest assholes in the bunch. Like,
How to say?
That was explicit.
sorry, no, but in all fairness, no,
The
you get,
camera's on.
yes.
It's on tape, by the way.
They might not be the companies that are, I mean, they might already be one step ahead because they want to learn more about it. They want to be more inclusive. They want to be more aware. How do we reach the companies or the big organizations that maybe do not want that, but need it the most for their employers? Because I feel like that is a big.
Yeah, so there are two different things to that. And one is that the companies who do bring in organizations like ours to go and speak or to have a discussion, what we noticed as well is that there are very few of those organizations that sort of make this type of training mandatory, that sort of make this training mandatory for their leadership. So what tends to happen is that sometimes you go and you speak and you have this really nice experience talking to them, they learn a lot, you learn a lot.
Yeah.
But it's almost like what you said, it's almost like preaching to the choir with the people who are attending. But that doesn't mean that the organization is on the right track.
Right.
And what we usually find out during those conversations is that they raise their hands up and they actually say, where is our leadership on this? Because they should be listening to us. So in a way, that's like one aspect of it.
Yeah.
The other is that we can't force them.
No.
Right.
Yeah.
So like that's something that we have to deal with, but that sort of lends to this 1046 solution, which I'm starting to believe in a lot more after doing this for a few years, is that I think that long-term behavioral change is sort of the antidote to what's ailing this country. And I do believe that showing these films by reaching out, by exposing and raising awareness, generally speaking, by working with a museum like Nordiska to raise awareness, and then eventually to hopefully create an exhibit that can be there permanently, that people can visit, students can visit constantly, will be able to affect them. And I think that's the way to go.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was pointing to you when I was talking about nerds.
No.
Can you expand on that question? Because if, the example, I worked 26 years at Ericsson, and then one of the best education, obligatory education we had at Ericsson was unconscious bias. It was wow, it was beautiful. And so I got so impressed with your network, but then I would say, correct me if I'm wrong, but working at the mentorship program in Stockholm Stad, and also looking, for instance, all of a sudden I got to know about this program at SCDN.
Oh yeah, CCN, yeah.
What is it?
I got a feeling that maybe actors working with integration maybe are not so well connected, because let's say the mentorship program I got, so wow, they didn't know about Move to Sweden. I got also angry,
Yeah.
Is it true?
It is true.
Because there is some work to do that, maybe also.
100%. So like we have a really good communications team within our nonprofit, and they've raised, I mean, starting 5 years ago from scratch, from zero, right? And even for me personally, not really having a network in Sweden, to what the comms team has accomplished, like now we reach 20,000 people on LinkedIn, and things like that. But it takes time and it takes effort and it takes a lot of funding. So, we have volunteers who are helping us, putting in a lot of their time. We have to be able to try to get funding, to be able to pay people appropriately, to be able to do things on a full-time basis and things like that. It's a difficult road for nonprofits. It's a difficult road. We were just talking about it earlier. I won't out who I was speaking to, but we're just talking about other DEI organizations in this country and how difficult it's been. Like there's been a lot of cuts in funding. There's been layoffs and things like that. So it's been very difficult to be able to do this work full time, to be able to raise the awareness enough. Like in a perfect world, we would have 10 different people, working towards this, but we have to make do with what we have.
Yeah, so, okay.
Rosa,
Please,
yeah.
go ahead.
I was wondering, how do you measure the impact of your trainings?
Yeah.
I'm one of the cynical people who doesn't really believe in one-off trainings and them having any sort of longevity. You have staff turnover. What you really need to do is embed changes into your structures and your process, into the leadership, etc. So what kind of metrics do you use to measure the impact, and how do you vet or confirm with the organizations and companies that you work with that this is not a box ticking exercise for them, so that you're not involved in perpetuating that kind of performative progress?
So that's a great question, and I'll admit,
one.
yeah, it is a tough one, but I'll admit, we are part of that. Like, I do think, especially when we were starting out, because we were just trying to get our name out there and try to be able to raise awareness on these different facts and studies that we found that we thought were really important for people to hear about. So we were part of that process 100%, where we knew we were going into an organization, there might be a specific amount of people who hear what we're trying to say, and then check, they're done. But for us, it was like, okay, we get their logo, we get to work with them, they pass us a certain amount of money to be able to do it. It allows us to continue our work and do things that way. So it is very difficult. And we have done feedback forms and things like that to try to measure it afterwards. It's not 100% perfect. I know it doesn't lead to significant change, but it does lead to a lot of awareness within the organization that we receive a lot of feedback. So what it does is it actually motivates people within the organization to enact change. We're not able to handhold them through proper change as much as I would like to. And to be honest, they don't have a lot of funding either for certain things. So it's like, it becomes like a very difficult thing. They have a lack of funding for what they are able to do, what they can pay for. And then we have a lack of funding to have like 6 people dedicated in our staff to be able to lead, handhold them through this transition process. So it has been difficult in that way, but I'll be the first to admit it. I think like I wish that can change for sure.
And each small steps, you have to, every contribution, that's my view, is important. Even though, we like to see change right away, or,
Well, that's the thing. Like, you kind of wish it doesn't become too cynical a conversation, but
Yeah.
but there is a lot of talk about, like, okay, are we just making change through entropy? Like, are we just making change because life just keeps moving on in a positive way? But I do believe, like, deep down, that no, we are making a difference, because like I do know, because I do hear the stories from lots of different people, and even from Nordiska last week on how it's affected people. There is a lot of change. It just depends on what's the best method, but we'll talk about that.
Yeah, no, I fully agree. And also there you saw when you partner up with
Yeah.
with like a very well-known and respected institution, that it's a win-win.
Exactly.
So
And it opens up a new door, and then that
Yeah.
door is going to open up another door, and then
Yeah.
that door's, and that's how we have to keep moving forward.
I want to get more to the substance now and be kind of ask you kind of a direct question.
Yeah.
If you feel that you're included in the Swedish society, and if not, what are the main barriers? Now we're getting to the heart of
Now we're getting to the heart of it.
it.
So do I feel included in Swedish society? No, I do not, but I also have the caveat, like I don't know how to the prerequisite. I'm trying to think of another word for caveat, but like I have like the thing that I do not speak Swedish. So I understand that. So I understand that I have also closed the door just through my language. So I know that exists, but I also know very many people who do speak Swedish quite fluently and also do not feel included. There was a study done last year with Neocompus Bureau and Perspectivo, but they found that 41% of all foreign-born people feel included in this country.
41.
41%. So it's such a low number.
Yeah.
And you can just go around the room and maybe ask a few people here how they feel, but like you'll see that mirrored in lots of different people, and even those who do speak Swedish. In terms of issues that are there, there's so many, it becomes hard to figure out where to start.
Yeah.
From a non-personal point of view, segregation is a major issue here in this city in particular. It's a major issue across Sweden, but here in Stockholm, you can physically see how segregated our city is. The majority of people who have foreign-born backgrounds are living in our suburbs, and when you go downtown, they don't exist as much. As you'll see, I live in Kungsholmen. You can see that difference with your homes. Language barriers are another natural obstacle for many people with international background, because how long does it take for someone to learn a new language? I ask this question a lot when we speak to different groups. It's like, if you had to move to Vietnam, for example, and you had to try to learn the language from scratch, how long would it take you to be able to work in Vietnam? A while, right? Like it's going to take you a while, and especially when the expectation is that you have to speak fluently to be able to work within that company. Because how many times have we seen job descriptions looking for Swedish? Even they're very explicit sometimes. Native Swedish is some of the terms they use. Swedish mother tongue, fluent, whatever it is. It takes a very long time to learn Swedish because nobody outside Sweden, except for a small population in Finland, I think, speaks Swedish in the entire world. So it's not a language that's very popular. So of course, anybody who's a newcomer or an international coming here, we have to have that expectation that it's going to take them a long time to learn the language. So we have to be able to lower our language expectations at the workplace so that people who don't speak Swedish as fluently as we would like can still work with us, can still thrive with us, and eventually they will pick up the language. It'll just happen. If they're in an environment where they're speaking Swedish every day, that's what's going to happen. They're going to pick it up and they're going to be thriving within your company. What else is there? Work permits, as we discussed. There's lots of obstacles regarding that. We can definitely make that a lot simpler and easier to obtain and retain.
Salary thresholds.
Yeah.
Salary thresholds, exactly,
Yeah.
which is very
Seems to be
bizarre.
going the other way now.
Yeah.
I think we were talking about it before we started, but like who's going to pay for your pension? Who's going to pay for all this stuff? You need immigration. Like immigration is absolutely necessary for our country. I checked like the 2024 statistic is that 1.43, or 1.43 children for every woman in Sweden right now, which is not sustainable. We need to have 2. So guess where those people are going to come from? Immigrants. So if we're having immigration, what do we want from them? What are we expecting? We have to start thinking about it more proactively instead of oh no, these people came and they're our guests, or we don't have anything to do with these people and we'll let them, figure things out on their own. Why didn't they assimilate better? Why didn't they do this? Why didn't they do that? Instead of raising those questions, it's more like, no, thank you for being here. Thank you for helping us. Let's try to work together so we can get you on your feet as fast as possible. That's how it should be.
I did a quick poll here. It's still
Yeah.
coming. I put a quick check in the room. Thumbs up if you feel included in Sweden. Thumbs down if you don't. So far, 2-2.
2-2. Okay.
So maybe I can start. Maybe we can check the temp. What do you
Yeah.
think? We have time. Yeah.
And maybe the 2 who said yes are Swedes.
No, if I can start, I am in the advantage, and maybe the word is advantage, because I came here for love. So my wife is Swedish, so in some way I was embraced by the whole family, and so. And the first years here, I thought it was magic, even that I got paid to learn Swedish. Is it still like this, the SFI? I got 2,500, 3,000 crowns, you know. I could tell that to Brazil, where I come from, and people that that's a crazy country. And what I feel not excluded today after almost 40 years is that I speak Swedish, but my wife say, please take it in English.
You speak good Swedish,
Yeah,
Fernando.
and the feeling that, let's say, maybe I'm wrong, we have at least one Brazilian in the call, who can add, but in Brazil, if we speak, which is a country of immigrants, if we speak Portuguese with accent, is even charming. But I don't think it's the same in Sweden. So I feel I'm better treated if I speak English. And at Ericsson, I mean, we speak Swedish,
Yeah,
but I never
yeah.
seen you speak Swedish.
Yeah, I do speak Swedish.
No, but not at Ericsson.
It's a hidden talent.
So that's the only thing I see with the language. Yeah,
Sorry, actually, even before you go on, I should point out the other major obstacle that we don't talk about enough is just actual discrimination.
Mm.
It's obvious that it exists, and if you need to hear about the studies, I can tell you, but it does exist in our country, and that's something we definitely have to work to try to do. Because that's, to be honest, like we do a lot of training for our newcomers and internationals, but we know we can only get them so far. Because the main barrier is beyond their control. But we can talk about that more.
I would like
Yeah,
someone
yeah.
online to speak
Yeah.
up.
Maybe no, but I think the racism, I mean, I think only recently have we started recognizing in Sweden that we actually are racist, you know. It's like, you know, we could embrace everyone in the world as long as they didn't come to our country. But when people came and they weren't like us, then there was proof that we were just as racist as anyone else.
If I may add
So-
my experience.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I came here in 1989 for the first time, and from India,
yeah,
but I did not feel it was racist at all. Actually, it was the opposite. I felt it was very welcoming, and Sweden was very welcoming, and I was treated very well. But I do admit that I've seen a change, visible change in the last 5 to 10 years. Something has happened in the society that has changed. And I don't know what it is. I can't put my exact finger on it or give you stats, but something has changed dramatically, which is a pity because Sweden was very inclusive actually in the
Good point.
80s and 90s.
I echo what you say.
Yeah.
And one follow-up question is, we have Trump that has even sent letters to embassies, to companies, take away all the vocabulary about inclusion and discrimination. So anything that you notice with the big companies nowadays?
I mean, definitely, we were just talking about that earlier. There's been lots of cutbacks. We're talking a pretty large event that's happening that is not receiving sponsorship anymore. We see it ourselves with how we're trying to get funding and try to get sponsorship for different things. It's been a lot harder, a lot more difficult. But I do want to just touch upon a little bit of what you said, which I thought was very nice to hear. But the disparity between the unemployment rates between people who were born here compared to people who came from abroad. With the youth, it sounds like it's moving in a positive direction. That's amazing. But generally speaking, the unemployment rate for someone who's foreign born is typically 3 times as high to 4 times as high. And it's always been cycling through that. And then we look back to 2010, and it was the same disparity. So from 2010 to 2025, if you're foreign born, you're 4 times as likely, 3 to 4 times as likely to be unemployed compared to a native Swede. Then there was this other study that was done for the first time in 2006 or 2007, where they did the random CV test, where they distribute these CDs with Arabic sounding names, some CDs, Swedish sounding names. The other, guess what happens?
Patterns were discernible.
Patterns were discernible. So if you have a Swedish sounding last name, you're twice as likely, 50% you have a 50% better chance of getting an interview callback.
If, what's it?
If you have a Swedish sounding last name,
Yeah.
you have a 50% better chance of getting an interview callback, like an interview request, than somebody with an Arabic sounding last name with identical CVs. And this latest one was done in 2020. So it's recent. Yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to circle back just a little bit to what we were talking about. You make such a great point, which is that discrimination is happening all over the place. I have experienced a lot of overt racism and subvert racism, all kinds of racism in Sweden. And I really struggled when I first moved here to figure out why is it that everyone has bought into this narrative in the Nordics that they're not racist, that they're super progressive.
Yeah.
And it really blocks this ability for people to see what's right in front of them. And then I read a piece written by Tandy Diani, who's a Danish academic, called The Nordic Denial. And this piece blew my mind, and I all of a sudden understood a lot more about what was going on around me. And it talks about how the narrative of the Nordics being such a progressive, equal culture doesn't allow people from the Nordics to acknowledge all of these maybe darker things that are happening. So I encourage everybody to read that piece, because for me, it really opened my eyes.
Do you have the name so I can put in the chat?
Yeah,
for everybody?
let me come
Yeah,
back for
yeah.
That is so interesting. Yeah.
We actually got to read that. I studied politics at Stockholm University, and that was one of the articles that we read. So all the students that are studying politics, like this, the English program, we actually get to that.
I want to add something. In the Netherlands, it's actually the same. So it is not only the Sweden thing. So they're very sure, and I don't know the statistics, but there was a lot of news about it because it came into big discussion, and also somewhere in 2005, maybe it started from that point that they started to investigate, because many people from abroad complained a lot that they were not invited for any interview, and then this was exactly the same issue. So it is not only about Sweden. It is also about other European countries, but maybe not about all countries. But anyway, Sweden is not alone with this.
Sweden's not alone, but Sweden is one of the worst in all of the OECD countries. Sweden is fourth last when it comes to disparity between things.
Well, Sweden is very good at self-aggrandizing also.
Can I, sorry, but just picking up, because there is exactly same comment here, that I'm just thinking hilarious. The last weeks has been in England with all the demonstrations against immigrants. And there was this meme that they go to the demonstration at the same time they eat Indian food and everything, right? So Andreas, do you have a question? Would you like to take it on the microphone? Andreas from?
Sorry. Okay, was it me? I wrote a comment.
There are more than one Andreas.
More than one of them. Okay. I'm reading the very short comment, the feeling that Sweden is becoming less inclusive towards immigrants, that this is clearly a global trend. So where at the moment countries are turning inwards and becoming more nationalist. I'm just thinking, so it's more like a comment. Is it?
It was a comment. I mean, I think it's clear that this is not only happening in Sweden. This is something happening everywhere right now in the world. Every country, I think. Well, all of that I read in the news at least. And what is my question, or I would be interested to hear your thoughts on what is behind this global trend.
If I can add first on the EU perspective, I mean, I worked in the European Commission for a number of years, and I was in Brussels last week talking with my former colleagues because I'm very concerned about the developments in Sweden. I was wondering if they were aware, and you know, basically that was the objective. And when they heard about some of the legislation that this government has passed, where, for instance, you've learned the language, you're integrated, you're contributing to your society, but just to our society. But just because you came here once upon a time as an asylum seeker, you changed track, so to say, to become have a work visa, working permit. Just because you made that change, you are sent out of the country, and you have to apply for a work permit from your home country, which means it's going to take years if you ever get it. So this kind of legislation, my colleagues working on these issues in all of the EU member states, they were not aware of. I mean, I think Sweden, yes, I agree there's a trend, but I want to hear from you. But I have to just say, on the EU perspective, definitely a trend within the EU, and Sweden, with a few hardcore countries, so to say, like Austria, is working in various ways to go even further. But Sweden is right now among, you know, the most hardcore within the EU. So that's the EU perspective. But over to you now, Greg.
Yeah, so I would just say that there are a few things there. One, that this is not a recent trend in Sweden. As we were saying, the studies were done in 2007. The unemployment rate has been the same since 2010, 2012. We've been one of the worst OECD countries in comparison to the others. This has been constant. This has not shifted. It's actually been quite consistent. It's almost been the exact same rate. When you look at the graph, it's like, it's been consistently bad for at least 15 years. So
yeah, I would argue that the changes in Sweden are quite recent with the rise of Sverigedemokraterna. Everyone, regardless of if they hate Sverigedemokraterna or not, they are doing the same politics because it's the politics which they think is buying them votes. So, I mean, this change in politics is quite recent in Sweden, I mean.
I think it has even become more visible now. It's more like, probably, like he said, it's been there for 20 years or something. But now it's like in your face, so what? I mean, that's the kind of thing.
I would say that the political changes are quite recent, though.
But the
undercurrents have been there for maybe longer, much longer.
That's a fair point.
Yeah.
And I think the demographic changes, so it became a little bit more sudden in 2015 and moving forward. You know, perhaps that's part of the backlash. I think Rosa brought up a good point about like Nordic exceptionalism is also part of it. The fact that we can't accept people for who they are, but we think that they need to adjust to what our standard is, what our traditions are. And then the other really important study that I want to bring up is one that was done fairly recently as well, or relatively recently. These studies, unfortunately, they should be done more, but because of rules, they're not. But 6 years ago, there was an anti-racism study that was done by the Länsstyrelsen of Stockholm. And what they found was that you could be born in Sweden, you could be raised and speak Swedish fluently because you were born here, you're speaking Swedish fluently, but your parents are from sub-Saharan Africa, which means the color of your skin is different. You receive half the average salary that somebody with your equivalent education of a PhD gets in Sweden. The Länsstyrelsen of Stockholm found this out. It's not very well publicized, as you were saying. Yeah, exactly. they don't want it to get out, I guess, as much, but you can look up the study yourself. Länsstyrelsen in Stockholm, 2018, 2019. I think it was published in 2020. This is what they found out. Like, what does that say about our country? It has nothing to do with immigrants anymore. It has nothing to do with language issues anymore. It just has to do with the color of the skin. That's it.
And that was before, I mean, that was kind of included the effects of the big wave of immigrants that came in 2015, 2016.
Yeah.
Well, it includes immigrants from God knows when, because they were born here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but we have one
Yeah,
question here.
so, thank you for everything you've been saying. Mine is more of a curious question.
Yeah.
So if this problem has existed for years, what have we done actively to solve it? Because, let me give an example. You
Yeah.
mentioned about the political change, how things, gradually trended towards the anti-immigrants. So now we've seen it as a problem. How are we pushing ourselves to get into the political space where we have a voice to say, okay, we've seen this, we want to change the trend? What has been done so far? I'm just curious.
So I'm not an expert on politics here. Like I told that to Mianne earlier, I'm not a Swedish political expert. But I still revert back to changing people's behavior long term. And I know that's not the best answer because short term, I think we're going to pay the price as we continue to do. And there are lots of different things you can do short term to try to make the situation better. But it's a long road, unfortunately. Like even when you look at civil rights movements from the 1960s in the US, and you see what's happening today, and it's 60 years later, you know,
Gone in months.
Yeah, like you can argue that, and I think it's the same around the world, and unfortunately, it's the same here in Sweden. It's a long road, and we have to be able to convince people that immigrants are human. Immigrants have education that's valued. Immigrants have experiences that should be valued, and this is where we are, you know. And we have to be able to have conversations exactly like this. You know, hopefully with more white Swedish people in the room, to be fair and honest. It's like we need more people to be able to listen to this type of conversation and understand that. I mean, we didn't even talk about demographics yet, but you know, like let me ask you this quick question right away. How many people, if you take people aged 20 to 65, so our workforce, pretty much, how many of them are foreign born? What percentage of them are foreign born?
20%, right?
20?
Yeah.
Anybody else with a guess?
That in Sweden today.
In Sweden today,
15, I would say.
15? No clue, which is fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My team,
I-
100%.
Yeah, I'm tagging on to you with 20.
20? It's 27%.
Wow.
So more than 1 in 4 people. So this is the type of thing we have to be looking at when we look at where we work, even at Ericsson, when we look at leadership, when we look at marketing, when we look at sales, it's 1/4 of the people working there are foreign born. Or they have work history, right? Are they or are they not? And to the second point, we'll get to, but the second point is how many people have foreign born heritage? Who has 1 parent or 2 parents who are foreign born? What's the percentage on that?
Then it's around 50 or.
I thought it was just over 50, it's like closer to 60.
No, it's not that high, that'd be fantastic.
40.
It's 39% of all of Sweden. So
Okay.
almost 1 in every 2 people, right? A little bit over 1 in 3, a little bit under 1 in 2. Or have a foreign born background in Sweden, have at least 1 parent who's foreign born. That's a lot. Even for Europe, that's extremely high. And then what's closer to the percentages you're guessing at, Stockholm region is 51% have a foreign born parent. 51%. Where are they? In downtown Stockholm.
Where
right
are
now?
they?
Right?
Yeah.
They don't exist in downtown Stockholm.
No, it's
They
very
all exist now.
segregated.
It's super
We have to go to Rinkeby. By the way, there's a very good book fair there in May that I can recommend.
Like,
But I think we have people online.
yeah.
I just want to say, you know, on the political side, there are elections, and we are the national elections in 1 year. And everyone who has the right to vote, please use that. That's my hope, anyway.
For the love of God.
I think, Geraldo, we have people online with questions.
Sai, you had a question here on, if you want to take it yourself?
Hi, good night. Yes, thanks so much. And it's been an informative session so far. My question was basically about practices in job applications from non-Swedes, and the fact that I've heard, well, at least anecdotes of people changing their names to sound more Swedish. And I was curious if there is any type of data available on non-Swedes changing their names and getting favorable recruitment outcomes.
So there's no data other than the data to prove that it's not an obstacle if you do have a foreign-born sounding last name. We talked about that Arabic sounding last name study that they've done multiple times here in Sweden. But anecdotally, because we do these ready to work programs all the time and we speak to lots of different people with international backgrounds. And I have friends who have done this, who do change their last name, get interviews, sometimes within a few weeks. So one friend of mine was struggling for over a year, changed his last name to his wife's Swedish last name, and got 3 interviews in 3 weeks. And he didn't get a single interview for a full year before.
Oh my gosh.
And he has an Asian sounding last
name.
That's really interesting. For me, well, I prefer to remain authentic to who I am, but I wonder if this is an actual practical recommendation that could be made for persons like myself who might be on a time-sensitive permit, and this could make the difference of getting, through the next door. Would you recommend this is something that people can do?
It's such a tricky thing to ask, to be honest, but unfortunately, I think if you want to improve your probability and your odds that you're going to be able to find work faster, then there's no harm in changing your last name to try.
There's no harm trying.
There's no harm trying. It's unfortunate. I'm sorry. But,
thank you. Do we have more questions?
No. No, just anecdotes. There is a niche for a new market. The names will be on sale.
New market for name.
Sorry. No, sorry, I think she had.
Yeah, I also had just an anecdote about it because I think it's also another nuance, or what we want to call it, from like the study that you mentioned with like an Arabic sounding last name and so ever versus the Swedish names. But then, so if I take myself, for example, I'm not Swedish. I'm actually half Serbian, half Dutch, but my parents moved here when I was 7, and I'm perceived as Swedish because I'm a white woman. Nobody questions me. I have no accent, but then all of a sudden, it's such a hypocritical, like, people can be, or like the jargon, the norms, whatever, it can be so racist here, so openly racist even. But then often my name is Faye van Arkel. It's very like, okay, now everybody knows me. but I mean, it's still like you would hear, everybody goes, oh, I haven't heard it. Where are you from? But then it's fun. So people are like, oh, you're, like, what's it called? Like,
noble.
It's like fun.
Part of the
It's noble. You are like, oh, that's nice. That's so exotic. And then all of a sudden, you know another language, and it's not Arabic, or you're not dark skinned. So then it's all of a sudden you're multicultural, you are worldly, you are well educated, and it's also such a shit show that can be. I'm sorry, I'm using harsh language, but
it's okay.
It's just it's a very frustrating topic, and I keep being frustrated. But like I also live in a student dorm, so I live with a lot of people from India, mainly Bangladesh, also people from Afghanistan that come here, from Cameroon. I've had, and it's quite easy if you know the language, and if you are like you said, perceived wise, and then all of a sudden for me on my CV, usually, you know an extra language, then it's a plus. But if you know Swedish good enough, but then you have Arabic or something, like this is the witness of a lot of my friends at least, then it's like, like they want. So that's also like another layer of an immigrant that's suddenly perceived as the good immigrant, the immigrant we want, because I'm white.
Another anecdote. In the end of last year, I did a DNA test.
Oh.
Just because I was getting all these commercials in
My
Facebook.
heritage.
Yeah, my heritage.
Yeah.
And I knew people that have done it. So never been interested in that. So I sent it, and some weeks later came a video. You are, and then I knew Portuguese, Iberia, and so. And then the second most where I come from, over 13%, 1-3. Scandinavian.
Oh, wow.
So maybe if I am retired, but if I search for a job, I say 13% Scandinavian.
Authentic.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. Put that in your headline.
that's the irony, right? Because we are all brothers and sisters. So, but I have a question.
Can I just respond
yeah,
to that really
yeah.
fast?
Yeah.
Because there were two things that are really important. One is that we use the term expats a lot when it's typically a white person
Yeah.
who's immigrating somewhere.
yeah,
So
sure.
just they're an immigrant, just like the rest
Yeah.
of us. So that's one thing that bothers the hell out of me. Sorry, I'm going to use your language. Too.
Yeah.
But and the other
Stick
thing,
to my method.
yeah, exactly. But the other thing too is like one of the main reasons I don't speak Swedish is because I get way better service and way better access speaking the English that I do. So I have a skin barrier entry, I think, when I try to like go into places and do things, but I have a language privilege that most people don't.
Yeah.
And so I use that a lot, and that's what's helped our business grow because I'm.
Swedes love to speak English.
Yeah, exactly, and especially with the Canadian
It
/
sounds
American
nice.
accent.
You're
Yeah,
a Swedish person.
I have something similar anecdotal to yours.
Yeah.
My parents came here from Hungary,
Mhm.
so I have a Hungarian name, but I look like this, so I can pretend whatever I like.
Mhm.
But about the name, I would like to most probably, if you have a Western European name, then you're still fine.
Yeah.
So I mean, it doesn't have to be a if you have a Finnish or French sounding name or Dutch sounding name, then you're still good.
Mhm.
But a good friend of my parents, I mean, my parents' generation, he had a very Hungarian sounding name. Doesn't matter what it was like unpronounceable for Swedes.
Like a Wi-Fi password or something.
And he did work as a music teacher, I think, in some Lidingö or somewhere. I don't remember where.
Yeah.
But he actually found it was so difficult for him to change jobs. So he changed his name to regular, well, it was the same initials, but completely Swedish, Stefan, whatever. What was his name? And this was in the 90s.
Yeah.
That's kind of, and I was shocked that can't matter. My brain refused to take in that this could matter. I was in denial, just like, we were discussing the denial of the.
Well, that's
this,
racism. Like you're always in denial.
of this study that you were mentioning. But then, I slowly, well, maybe there is some truth to that, but this was a long time ago.
When I add something? Yes, some years ago, I made some interviews to my doctorate, and I was talking with lawyers who were working internationally, and some of them came to Sweden at the end of 1960s or at the beginning of 1970s. And they mentioned that to be here a lawyer was extremely difficult.
Yeah.
Some of them were professors of the Jewish origin. They had to escape from Poland. And they came here. They met a lot of hospitality here at the beginning, but later to introduce them to professional work, almost impossible. They had to work as a cleaning service or in very low positions many years to be integrated here better and then work as a journalist, lawyer, etc. Now maybe they are journalists and lawyers here, but then 50 years ago it was similar difficult like here right now.
Can I pick up on that and just strengthen this question to you, Greg? because I'm thinking a little bit, the 4Ds, dreamers, doers, is outers and doubters, right? The doubters in me say something like, wait a second, if you are an architect today, in Sweden, even if you're Swedish and your name is Andersson, you're not going to get the job. It's so damn difficult. And the economy is not so good on top, right? So could it be that sometimes it is, like you say, the choices, the time? I mean, when I came 1987, it was like, the economy was like this. There was jobs for everybody, right?
Yes.
So, because what I am afraid is that in our narrative, we become victimized, right? It's our name. And so the doubter in me says, what could be the opportunities? I mean, sometimes it could be even reskilling, right? Find new opportunities. I don't know if I knew the answer, right? But what I'm afraid is that we go this rabbit hole of becoming victims. Or, like you said in your post, we need to recognize that we have a problem.
That's exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know, but yeah.
No, but I think that's exactly it. We do have to recognize that there is an issue out there, and it's not, because right now we are the victims, to be honest. We came here, we're trying to find work, we're trying to have a living, we're trying to, make a life here. But there are forces out there that are beyond our control that we can adjust. And it's the polar opposite for most native Swedes who don't even think that there's a problem, like we were saying, who believe that there is no problem exists. But meanwhile, every single study that's done, so it's not just our own personal opinion on what's happening to us individually, every single study points that no, there's a greater problem in society. Like if you have to make twice as many applications as a native Swede to get the same amount of interviews. And even then, like, I don't even know if that's true. I think it's even more than that. Then you are a victim. Like, it has nothing to do with you. It has to do with what's on the other end, who's screening those CVs, who over interviews, who's bringing in, like, the fact that we have to network to be able to find work. 6 out of every 10 jobs are found through networking and connections in Sweden. What does that do for an immigrant who moves in this country? Like,
yes,
they're all closed off. All those jobs are closed off for them, right? Because what kind of network do you come into the country with?
Yes.
So even when we think about it from that perspective, like, of course they're victims. Like,
Contacts.
Sorry.
We have two questions online.
Okay.
If we could take Etuk.
Yeah. Thank you, Greg. I mean, you've gone through a lot, and I think there's really not much we can do when it comes to changing the narratives as it is today. We just have to try and work with what we do. But I mean, right from the outset, you've spoken about, trying to change the mindsets during when you have all these conversations, as the case may be. I mean, from one or two last people that spoke online, we talked about time-sensitive visas, we talked about changing names and everything. I want to ask, or would I say suggest, your platform, you've been able to engage with employers. Can you bring them up together and do some kind of job fairs, particularly for those that have time-sensitive visas? I mean, I think if we could use that platform, knowing that what to preach to them, at least try to put them to the test. Okay, come, try to change the narratives. We have immigrants that are here, they are skilled. And let's jump on your platform and say, maybe once a quarter or biannually, you do a job fair and bring everybody together. We use this opportunity to share the narratives, also opportunity to spread it. I mean, I don't know whether you've considered that.
No, we have. So it's a great idea, and ideally, I know of an experiment that was done in Canada that had enormous success with this type of thing, where they did train a bunch of people with international backgrounds, brought in some employers, did like a very hands-on type of job fair where the interviews were done right on the spot. It led to a lot of success. A lot of people did walk out with actual jobs, walked out with a lot of interviews, all that sort of stuff. It worked, but it took a lot of effort. It took a lot of money. It took a lot of organizations that are willing to hire and hire quickly. All these things are obstacles that, may not exist here in Sweden to be able to recreate. But I go back to that funding issue. If we had the funding to be able to do it, we would do it tomorrow. I would love to be able to do something like that on a bigger scale. We started with this pilot program in Umeå. It went very well. We're probably going to do it again. But it's a slow slog. I'm so sorry to say it that way, but like the next time we do this might be next year. Then after that, then we build on that success. Then maybe another municipality hears about it. Then we go to that municipality. So it's a very difficult thing to sort of accelerate. And to be honest, like that keeps me up at night and makes me very depressed sometimes. But because we know the solutions are there. I think we talked about it before we even started. The solutions are all there. It's all very easy. We eliminate, all referrals and network connections to be able to hire. We change our language expectations at the workplace. All these things are very achievable. It's not difficult to do, but yet we drag our feet trying to make a change. The more cynical people I've spoken to, we have this Let's Talk About Race panel that we host on LinkedIn. And they're very much talking about no, it's just a racist society with racist structures in place that do not want to lift other people up. And that's it. And a lot of people have reached that conclusion that no, it's pointless to try. And that's how sad it's become. Sorry. There are two questions in the room.
Yes, I want to say about the urgency of this kind of platform, because I want just to bring something in about AI. The development is so quick that it is an extra concurrent for the whole society, also for Swedish people. So it will be like talking about this victim role or just extra challenge. It will be challenge for all of us. And so talking about this platform for humans and by humans, it is extra. It has urgency, because in 1 year there will be maybe all AI agents, HR agents hiring people. So there will maybe be even less percentage of success in that, because everything is done program. So maybe if we're talking about politics, it is important to bring this urgency as soon as possible for the decision that it will happen earlier, not in 2 years, but maybe at least in 1 year that it will exist. So maybe this urgency has to be brought into application.
Yes. If I understood it correctly, though, even with AI, AI is kind of proven to be racist too in many different ways.
Definitely proven to be racist.
Racist.
Has it? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Think about the people who have built the machines, who test the machines.
Where the data comes from.
Where the data comes from.
Yeah. So a lot of it.
Yeah, and also, about discrimination against various groups comes, due to the web, who made them, who built the systems. So I guess they're trying to improve it, but yeah.
We have Shaurya that has been handing his hand for a long time, and then we have Saya. But Shaurya, please. And so nice.
Thank you, guys. Hello to everyone. My question is a little more tactical than the holistic viewpoints we are having here. One is, Greg, do we have any data points or your experience around how the medium and small enterprises all across Sweden have an approach towards expats, immigrants, migrants, whatever you may want to call them? And because majority of enterprises are small and medium enterprises, which are very prevalent all around Sweden. Do we have anything? And a follow-up to that question is that anywhere in the Nordics, since Sweden is the worst, what are the other Nordic countries' parameters where they are doing better in terms of racism or less discrimination, which probably could be a good starting point for Swedish politicians to think about if and when that happens.
Yeah. So those are really good questions. Unfortunately, with the data, as far as I know, there's no such data that exists. I don't know if there was some sort of SME type, I don't know, like gathering of different organizations that sort of brought it, try to get that type of data available. It's not crossed my path. I've not seen anything like that. And I would, to be honest, be kind of shocked if that did exist, based on the amount of data that's actually available in Sweden, which is very poor. And that's actually one of the other points that we need to make, which is even just data accumulation on these topics has been either deliberately or unintentionally ignored. And it goes back, I think, again, to that Swedish exceptionalism idea. For some reason, we just don't want to hear the truth. So every single study that's ever done kind of points out that there's a flaw in society, right? Like that's kind of what happens when we learn things. But for some reason, we do not want to have those studies exist. And even the studies do exist, don't get the proper publicity that these should. But as far as I know, there's no data with the SMEs. In terms of other countries and what they're doing better, they're not incredibly they're not doing much better. They're marginally better. I think someone mentioned it earlier, but Scandinavian countries in total are doing pretty bad. And it really depends on what metric you're using. Some people can argue that, Denmark's doing worse than we are based on some of the laws they have in place. So it really just depends. Speaking to people from other countries, though, what we do find is that, and speaking to other organizations from other countries, is that we tend to have a lot of things in common more than we have any solutions in common. And by that, I mean that when I speak to, because we're part of these different funding requests where, so Finnish organizations reach out to us, Norwegian organizations reach out to us, Danish organizations reach out to us. So I have lots of conversations with organizations from around Scandinavia, and consistently it's always the same issues and they'll just mimic it. What I think might be the difference a little bit is that we're a little bit better in Sweden in sort of tracking some of these things compared to those other countries. They might be doing equally as bad, they just track it in a different way.
But I mean, if I can add just, Finland has taken there's basically no immigration in Finland, sorry. So the problem, if you want to look at it that way, or the questions are different because, the border is closed now completely, of course, for understandable reasons, but Belarusians, they're not letting anyone in now, but this has been the policy for quite a long time. Very few.
Many decades.
Very few asylum seekers, Denmark indeed is a very particular case. They, already a few years ago negotiated an agreement with Rwanda to send asylum seekers that were waiting to have their claim assessed to Rwanda. Now Sweden is also, among a group of countries in the EU that wants to have asylum claims processed outside, not even let them in the EU. So, but Denmark has kind of been a forerunner on the asylum side of things. They've also, withdrawn permits for Syrians who were working legally in the country, that are in limbo. So Denmark, what should I say? Very, very hardcore on the asylum side of things. But I don't know, of course, on migration, on these other issues that you're expert on.
So what I would say too is because we had this question earlier with the global trends, the global trends that we're becoming more nationalistic, we're becoming more siloed, we're trying to close off our borders, etc. Maybe this is too idealistic and maybe too optimistic, but I hate that argument sometimes because I'm like, forget what the other countries are doing. Like, what are we doing here? Is this how we want to be represented? Is this what we want to be doing? And how can we be better? Because I've had that argument before at different organizations that we've been at, where somebody in the audience will always bring up that, well, we're better than Norway or whatever it was, or, and I'm like, that's not the argument. Like, that's not the point. It doesn't matter if we're better than another country or worse than another country. It's like, is this fair within our own system? And I would argue it's unfair. It's very unequal. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, I was curious, and this might be very naive, but bear in mind, I don't have an education or of any sorts within an organization or anything. So, but I'm curious when you say like, yeah, we need funding, and that is of course understandable. But for example, for a job fair, just like for a sec the minds we have here and online, like, what if you break it down the funding, for example? What if there was some connection we could pull for a venue? And I have a whole network of students who are super eager to work here. They have a master's or they're doing their master's or their PhD or whatever, and they want to. So maybe there are some volunteers that could help, and then maybe you have some, and you have some. Like,
You got the task.
Yeah.
I will.
So,
No, but seriously, like, what kind of funding is realistic, and could we break it down to some practical stuff like a venue or because there must be some people that have some kind of power within like offices, companies, organizations like us or you that would say, I came here 20 years ago, I owe this one person that helped me, I owe my career to that, or I would love to be a part of this movement. Yes, heck yeah, I'll give my 2 hours and or whatever to stand there in a job fair and at least meet the students, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if we're gonna be here for a conversation, we should also be positive and see what can we do with the little time, because even 2 hours on a whatever, that could make a difference.
So volunteering is super important. And then of course,
Yeah.
for nonprofit organizations, social enterprises, like, it's extremely important. We rely on it and it really works.
Yeah,
But at the same time, 2 hours to volunteer, who's onboarding that person, who's having a meeting with that person,
Yeah.
who's gonna offboard that person, what is that person gonna do within 2 hours?
yeah,
Like, that takes full-time employment
yeah,
for somebody to be able to handle that.
yeah,
So that's the kind of funding we're talking about. You need to have, like, for this Nordiska event, like, we basically volunteered our time to make it work, but
Yeah.
how much of our time, like almost, 2 full months or 3 full months from me
to make it happen.
to make it happen. So who's donating their time and money for 3 months straight?
Yeah,
And that's the kind of thing you need.
yeah,
So,
And also,
yeah,
it's,
that's the dreamers for this. We are
Yeah.
connected.
yeah.
But we are 7 minutes to.
okay, the last
Yeah.
question.
We have one last question for Sai. Sai, would you like to take the mic?
Yes, hi again. All right, so my situation is that I am a non-EU job seeking person, and I want to know how can I best advocate for myself with employers who might be reluctant to initiate a work permit. Like, how can we help potential employers best help us?
It's a really difficult question. The problems with the work, like, there's a problem with it just naturally, is that you're time sensitive when you have a work permit. So you might have a year, you might have 2 years, but then that's kind of it, and you have to try to make things happen within a set amount of time. Because unfortunately, the way Sweden works, it's networking and knowing the right people who might be able to offer you a position. So it's what we tend to recommend, and it's a very difficult recommendation, but it's to get to meet and greet and network as many different people as you can on LinkedIn, many different people as you can in events like this, as very many people as you can in other networking events and all that type of stuff, because that's probably your best opportunity to be able to find work
Yes.
in this country. It's getting to know as many different people as you can, and it's a little bit of an oxymoron because you're stuck because you have a certain amount of time. So to be able to create the right relationships takes time. And that's another problem that with work permits, unfortunately. The only other thing that you can do is try to network and find people who have had success with work permits at different organizations. Maybe it's Ericsson, maybe it's somewhere else, where you know that they might be more open to that sort of thing, and apply there and network there and concentrate your full effort at organizations you know are open-minded towards work permits and everything that comes with it. And Rosa probably has a nice suggestion too.
Yeah, there's a list floating around on LinkedIn of Swedish companies that do hire internationals and sponsor work permits.
Yeah.
That would be my first recommendation for you, so you don't go and do all that legwork yourself.
Can you write it again?
It's not like a searchable thing. It's like because I basically live on LinkedIn. It's just there.
Yeah, I think it's from Intertalents. I think they've compiled a list of organizations that are open to employing international talent.
So you can try something like that. There's also a new website. It's called No Swedish Needed or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know how, like I can't vouch for it, but it does exist and it came out like 2 weeks ago. Yeah,
Great. Thanks for that.
no problem.
Okay, well, I think we're approaching the end. Do you have anything more you'd like to say? I'm a little bit thinking, what would be a wish list, looking ahead?
Spend another 2 hours. No, but there is one thing that I wish everybody can do, and we all have the power to do it, but it's just to become more self-aware of our environment and where we are, so that now that you have these numbers, you know what's going on in this country. Now, when you do go for your next meeting, when you do go for whatever place that you're going to, is to be self-aware and look around and then just see, okay, there's a bunch of white Swedish people here. And look over there, another bunch of white Swedish people. And then think about that and think about why that is. And then try to do something about it. However means you can. There's lots of different suggestions, but literally that list would be extremely long. But at least get that awareness going and notice that there is a problem wherever you go. And same thing, if you happen to work, look at your leadership team, look at your sales team, look at your marketing team. Don't look at the cleaning crew. Look at everybody else, because we're great at having a mixed cleaning crew in this country, but we're not great at actual positions where people have any sort of power.
Okay, well, great. Thanks, Greg, for taking the time for sharing all this with us. Really, really, I really enjoyed it. It was very interesting. Thanks to you.
It took here in the chat that is volunteering together with and also a note from Sarah that she will read the Nordic Denial ASAP. So we are making the connections here.
Yeah.
Can I throw out the last tip? And I think especially for the people online, I am not at all sure what people we have here tonight, but if you are a student and you are here as an exchange student, you're doing your master's, your bachelor's, and you have a personal number, you can become a student member for Vision Fackförbund. It's Vision. It's a union for people that work in the welfare mostly. But here is the thing, so they will tell you, yeah, but are you going to stay here, blah, blah. But you can become a free member and you can use their tools, which are really good, actually, in order to find a job. You can get free counseling from them, interview training. So what type of questions can you get? What type of questions can you ask? What are your rights as an employee? What should you look out for? What salary could you ask? And also, you have a great GDPR safe AI tool which day is a co-work. Yeah, and you can use that so you can link the link for the job application that you find on LinkedIn and make your personal letters, your CV, your cover letters. And I think that is also one of the things that if your Swedish is flawless grammatically, that is also already one part that they would look at. Yeah, just a tip to get some professional help as well from outside. Use it because it's there, and they won't maybe flag with it because they want their members to stay there forever and pay a lot of money. But nonetheless, it is free for you as a student. So just a pro tip.
Thank
Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for coming
you.
to this room. Thank you. Yeah.
So what was the name of that academic paper you mentioned?
Nordic denial.
Nordic denial.
It's amazing.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
Not the concept, the paper.
Yeah.
Just to
I like the concept.
Yeah.